Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I'm leading the show with a conversation with a senior Nigerian security analyst who was also a retired Provost Marshal of the Nigerian Army. We're going to be talking about some of the developments that we've seen, the intervention of the Americans and Nigeria's battle against terrorism. I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources retired Major General Pat Akem Vingi, PhD.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good to see you again on Inside Sources.
Thank you.
All right, sir. So I read your article, earlier this week. It was published, several places, including on this day, and you were making the point that a one-time strike might be useful, like we saw on December 25 during the Christmas Day, the bombing of the U.S. On Sokoto State, and you described, you said, pinpricks will not be able to get the job done. Can you explain to us, give us a summary of what you are trying to say?
Okay, thank you so much. So the point is this. Nigeria is dealing with something that is widespread. Let's take the Northwest. You have banditry activities, terrorism activities. You have illegal mining that, of course, have precipitated some of the security challenges we are seeing. Yeah. You move to the Northeast, you are dealing with adaptive Boko Haram and ISWAP around the Lake Chad region. And then you come to the north central of Nigeria and you are dealing with militias, people who are essentially engaged in land grabbing under the pretext of herders-farmers clash. In fact, that phrase should be retired. Doesn't apply. Because if you are killing people who are sleeping in their homes, in villages, if you are
who don't have farms,
if you are occupying their lands, if you are doing it in the night, then you are not on a farm. So that phrase should be retired. Yeah. So then you come down to other areas and you are having kidnappings, banditry activities, to the extent that the armed forces are overstretched, overburdened, overlabored. You add that to policing roles in some cases that they have taken over. And so that makes, when the president says he wants to increase the number of policemen, it makes sense. When he wants to increase the number of troops, it makes a whole lot of sense. My point is that it should have been done since like yesterday. By now we should be seeing serious actions that show that it's being done. I believe something is being done, but we've not seen it yet. So basically that's it. So on the 25th of December, Trump made good his promise to intervene, and there was a strike. Yeah. That strike did a job. It killed some insurgents. It disrupted their networks and their cells. It perhaps tampered with their logistics. It kind of disrupted and disoriented them for a moment. And so that is why we are saying that pinpricks, because in 2013, Obama described that kind of action as a pinprick. Now, what does that connote? If you use a needle on your finger, you will draw a little blood. Yeah. You will feel a little pain and irritation. Yeah. But it won't hamper, it won't prevent the finger from moving because it's just a pinprick. So only one strike is a pinprick operation. It doesn't have it will serve a certain purpose, but it will be limited. For insurgents, all they need to do is to regroup, adapt, and of course, their staying power is because they are able to adapt. They have the capacity to read the environment and know what to do. We're not dealing with dundies. We're not dealing with fools. So to have an effect that will be significant, that will contribute to the war effort, that kind of strike will need to be repeated multiple times. Wow. Based on intelligence, not throwing punches. See, fighting insurgency is never straightforward. In fact, one author who has a book by the title, I'm going to quote, he said fighting insurgency is like learning to eat soup with a knife. Wow. It's messy. If you cook, this soup that you spoon to eat with bread or what, if you cook it and if you have it in a bowl and you are using a knife, it's messy. Sometimes you get a bit of it into your mouth. Yeah. A lot of it pulls on your, that is if you are able to even leave something significant, pulls on your dress and all that. So that is how insurgencies are. God. They are normally messy affairs. troops learn to adapt to them because many national armed forces train to fight conventional warfare. Unfortunately, unfortunately for forces around the world, we are moving from fourth generation warfare to fifth generation warfare. Fourth generation warfare is counterinsurgency operations. Is people using vehicles as bombs, using improvised explosive devices, using unconventional tactics, not respecting the norms of battle, using civilians as shields. So fourth generation is moving to fifth generation. Fifth generation is a little bit cyber security, disruptive activities by enemy forces that we can shut down your electrical grids and shut down your operations, banking operations and all that. We're moving from there to sixth generation warfare, will be robotics and stuff like that. So basically, for conventional forces like Nigeria, they're overstretched because right now we're operating in every region of Nigeria. The troops are not having time to even rest. They are everywhere at the same time and overstretched because the numbers that we should be operating with are not available. So if you want to have a sustained effect, those kind of strikes that the Americans did on the 25th must be consistent, and they must be informed, they must be targeted, they must be based on information that is gathered electronically and through human intelligence, that there is a fusion between electronic surveillances and human elements to verify that you are hitting correct targets, and then you are able to do assessments and respond immediately if you need to. So it will be a cycle. You hit them, you kill some, they move, and then you see there is nothing, there are ungoverned spaces. But ungoverned spaces are never empty. Once there is an ungoverned space, it is occupied by somebody. So with respect to Nigeria, ungoverned spaces are occupied by criminal elements who are trading in arms, who are making rules for citizens of Nigeria. In other words, anytime you see an ungoverned space, it means sovereignty has been breached and traded. So that is what we're having.
Interesting.
So you need the tempo to continue.
So now the Americans have said, because there was a interview that Mr. Trump granted New York Times, I think sometimes last week, where he said that if he has to strike again, he will strike again. But what we have seen earlier this week is that some equipments, understand that it also has to do with surveillance, have been sent to us. So the question I wanted to ask you is that the situation that you described, what has to happen, we can't possibly depend on the Americans for all of that.
That's right.
So even if they are willing and able, ready to attack again, they cannot do all of these things that you said, without them taking too much space.
That's right. And making us look like we're outsourcing.
So how do we balance it?
Okay, so this is it.
So first of all, you think that there should be more strikes from the Americans?
Definitely. And even if it is not from Americans, from our bombing, Nigerian Air Force should be upscared in such a way that its impact is felt continually. Okay, so let me explain. See, nations cooperate. You see, because counterinsurgency, counterterrorism operates at a space that is not restricted to a nation. Say, they are operating here. For example, the ones we are dealing with, they cross over to Niger, they cross over to Mali. They may even extend as far as to Libya. They may be operating in Sudan, northern Sudan. So when you are dealing with that, it means that if one nation is having that kind of effect and you ignore it and you say, well, it's Nigeria, one day it will come to you. But beyond that, Nigeria should not be ashamed to ask for help where we need help. That is how nations operate today. And in that article that you were quoting, I made a point that the Israeli armed forces are far, far better equipped than us, perhaps more trained, with better intelligence gathering access, and they receive help continually from the Americans, and they have never been ashamed. The outcome is winning the war. So, yes, America can help us. They do not necessarily need to execute the airstrikes. They give us accurate, timely intelligence. And then we receive the logistics that will make it possible for us to operate on ourselves, our Air Force doing the job. The Nigerian Air Force today is led by a very smart officer. The chief of air staff is smart. And he has a team. You can see since 25th of December, they've been executing operations.
Right.
But you see, to sustain that level of tempo, you will need a constant flow of munitions, of bombs, of logistics to the front to keep the sorties going. So that is where the Americans come in. So they come in on 3 levels, basically.
Okay.
Training, logistics, and intelligence gathering.
Okay.
So, we can receive that kind of help. And then, of course, if they want to help us again, even beyond what we are doing now, we have other planes, but it takes a long time to build them up. They can lease some planes to us. some equipment. Give us some equipment. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to ask that. So the kind of strike that we saw on Christmas Day last year, the Tomahawk missiles, I understand probably, I don't remember, maybe 12 or 18 missiles. I don't remember the exact.
About that, yeah. Each of them costing a minimum of $2 million.
Exactly. So the point is that what is the incentive for them to do that quite often?
So that is, now you are digging deeper. Nations have interests. Smart nations operate with interests. So with their interests at the back of their minds. So you see, Trump would not be interested in Nigeria one bit if there was nothing. If there was nothing, apart from the fact that we're fighting what would become a major front that will impact the global economy and the global security. There must be some interest that we have not been able to uncover by the highest levels of government. I'm sure they know. So to keep that kind of interest. That is where statecraft comes in. That is where playing geopolitics comes in. That is where diplomacy comes in. If you play your cards right in the international arena, you can get things that people are paying for free.
Interesting.
So that is where Nigeria must up its game. We did better than Venezuela. If we had made the kind of noises and ignored the threats the way Venezuela did, we may have had an effect. Maybe not on the scale of Venezuela grabbing their president and taking him out, but something would have happened to Nigeria. But we played it smartly. We didn't ignore the Trump threat. We engaged. So nations that are smart engage in diplomacy. And so that is what you do. Right. Just having very good... See, I was in Pakistan for 1 year doing the National Defense Course.
Okay.
And the Pakistanis used to say that their relationship with China was all-weather relationship. All-weather. Which nation can Nigeria say has all-weather relationship with? If we do not have that, then we need to start having. And all-weather relationship gives you the impetus to act because you see, whether you are wrong or right, that relationship is on. And so the benefits of that relationship keep accruing to you. So do we have a nation of that at that level that we can say, we have an all-weather relationship? Okay, maybe you are playing it smart. You want to be friendly with China. You want to be friendly with America. You want to be in the middle, but then you pay a price for doing that. So there's a price to pay. But if you play the game smartly,
you'll be fine.
You can tap into the whole spectrum of benefits that accrue to nations that engage in that kind of statecraft.
Now, but the other point is that, so do you think our military is able to deploy that kind of force that we saw with the Tomahawk missiles, of the Americans? Do we have that capacity? Don't we need them to do that a few more times because of the sheer force that it packed?
Well, you see, nations have a way of doing this thing. If you really want to do this thing, you will telegraph it. As soon as the strike is on, a press statement is released to say that Nigeria, working with the Americans, have done this. So you take ownership. You are now outsourcing your sovereignty. You are saying we are working in concert. The Israelis do it. They work with the Americans. So you do that. We need more of those strikes. Whether the Americans will be prepared to engage like that, I do not know. but it looks as if they're drawing back into only intelligence gatherings, supporting with logistics.
But the point, General, is that do we have the capacity
on our
own to deploy that level?
We do not have Tomahawk missiles for starters. We have planes, but the war we're fighting, the planes we have can do the job. They only need to be consistent. They only need to be persistent. They only need to be ubiquitous. In such a, you see, when you are fighting insurgency, you must have it at the back of your mind that you will deny them spaces to operate and freedom of movement, that you will disrupt their war economy, that they will not be able to move logistics, where that their money sources are dried up, that they are not able to move. So you restrict them in such a way that there is no freedom of movement. You are denying them space to operate. If you do not do that, then what you have, it will be an ongoing operation that will just go on forever. We've been on this thing for 16 years now.
Yeah, it's 20.
So the point is this: the intelligence we are getting, we must use it. We must be able to spring into action as soon as we get it and verify. To bomb, and the bombs must be effective. Some years back, the Air Force dropped a bomb on a moving convoy of Boko Haram terrorists. It didn't explode well. They scattered into the bush and then continued with their convoy, and there was no follow-up.
Wow.
That video is online somewhere. That cannot be allowed to repeat itself. So we must be effective with the things we have. You see, these Nigerian pilots, Air Force that you are seeing here, they were very effective in Liberia. Charles Taylor didn't like them at all, one bit. The rebels in Liberia didn't like them one bit. They were very effective. Daredevils. Tosabo, Balogun, and Nebi, these were
the air officers.
They're tough guys that disrupted Charles Taylor's operations in Liberia.
And you believe you still have those?
And some of those aircraft are still here. So logistics, consistent supply of munitions to be dropped on them. Sorties must be repeated. It's not bombing twice a week. It's consistent, and that takes logistics. So the troops, the people who participate in that must also have time to rest. So that means you have a number of troops to do it. You see, because when pilots are flying, they must be sharp, they must be alert. So you must have enough of them to be able to, keep the operations going constantly. And you are gathering information. In the afternoon, in the daytime, Boko Haram will not be able to operate. The ISWAP will not be able to operate. Whatever elements they are will not be able to operate freely because you are flying. In the night, you are gathering intelligence to know where they are moving to. So you bomb them. So you keep on like that. When daybreak comes, you are bombing them. They think they have migrated to a hiding place because of intelligence gathering assets. You know where they are. So that there is no space for them to operate.
Interesting. So the equipment that the Americans donated to us, how do you interpret that?
Well, I've not seen the scare. I just saw a video, a picture of it. I do not know exactly what was delivered. If I knew that, I'll be able to do an assessment. But if they did, one tranche is not enough. We expect a couple of planes to land.
Because we saw the stuff.
If they really want to help us, it will be almost on the scale that they are giving Ukraine. But then you ask yourself, what are they going to benefit from Nigeria?
But there's a lot.
And so that is where, at the highest levels of governance, there will be talks and agreements. But we need this thing to end. You see, we are sitting on top of one of the greatest nations on earth, potentially. Resources, human capital. Human capital, a good human capital like the one we have, is an element of national power. Our population, element of national power. The resources we have, elements of national power. So we need to galvanize them. We need to harness them. We need to use them. African nations do not want to have too many Nigerians around. So we must concentrate on our country. People are looking inwards now. So we must concentrate on developing our country. They've just finished a march, and all the comments they were referring to us as generator republic. Ghanaians were calling us that. It's because we are unable to generate power to sustain our own development and to serve us. But the country has potentials, and you need security to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Look at the farmlands. Look at the vast farmlands. Can you imagine the value chain that will come from agriculture?
Yeah.
If there is peace for Nigerians to get back to the farm.
Even the solid minerals that we have.
Even solid minerals that now are being mined and we have no control over. You need security to be in place for you to do that.
Okay, I'm going to
So we are on top of a country that is very rich. And then you don't want foreigners, foreign nations to start paying too much attention to you. You see, there is a shortage of resources. We're dealing with resources that are not replenishable. So nations, if you want to manufacture planes, you need copper, you need silver, you need some things. You need uranium for some things. We have deposits of this. So because these resources are not regenerated by their very nature, you don't want attention to be paid on to your space in such a way that it becomes a scrambling zone where superpowers are operating and trying to harvest your resources. So you must keep your house in order. Okay, so it comes to this point. We've declared a state of emergency. Let's act like a nation that has a security state of emergency. When you declare a state of emergency in the security domain, you are saying that anything can be reconfigured to serve the purpose of security. I'm not saying that on the ground. I'm not seeing resources being channeled the way they are normally channeled when you say you have a state of emergency in the security sector. So if you really say you have that, then galvanize, turn even industries that need to be converted into war effort. Let's end this war so that Nigeria's economy can take off and grow.
What major elements haven't you seen that you think ought to be in place because we have a national security emergency?
First, the citizens must know that there is an emergency. You see, you must galvanize Nigerians behind the war effort in such a way that when you take resources and divert them to war, they will not complain because they are informed. Have you heard the president repeat any broadcast expanding on that state of emergency? He needs to do that, or his aides should do it. What exactly does this state of emergency?
It's better for him to do it.
It's better for the president to do it.
Yeah.
What exactly is this state of emergency? What are its contours? What is the texture? What are its nuances? How far does it go? What can we do and not do? This must be clear. But we know the templates. When you say a state of emergency has been declared, it means to some extent some laws are even suspended. Yeah. So if there is a state of emergency in security, let's see it. It means also that if you see a bandit somewhere with anybody with a weapon, is brought down, no questions asked. It means that you are killing insurgents, you are killing bandits, you are killing kidnappers.
It means that you may have to even suspend some laws. You know.
We said there is a state of emergency. That means resources will be going to defense and they will be accountable. That means you are recruiting on a massive scale. That means that you are taking stock of the equipment you have and saying that, look, let's get equipment, not buying piecemeal. What do units need? What do brigades need? What do battalion divisions need?
Let's dig it deeper on the issue of recruitment. So I wanted to ask you, how quick, because this question of increasing the troops, whether it's police and military, has been on for a long time. Now, the president seems to have said that, look, let's get it done. How quick can that, how can we
So that's an all-out effort. Okay, so you know the thing, and that is where resources are needed. When you are increasing the number of troops, every soldier must have a room, at least one room in the barracks, even if they're in the war front. So it means you are increasing, you are building barracks, you are building accommodations, you are creating new units. They must occupy somewhere, even though the soldiers are fighting. They must act like a unit. Yeah. So resources are needed. During the Civil War, they used to do a quick training that maybe went on for 3 months, and they launched the people. What the army will ask itself is, can we train people for 3 months and give them the basic training that is required for them to occupy spaces in the war effort? Yeah. So you need to do that. I understand some training depots are being reactivated. About 3 now. But if you ask me, 3 will not be enough. But again, I'm not the chief of army staff. He's sitting on top and he knows things that I do not know.
Right.
From he was my general. He didn't meet me in the Nigerian Defense Academy.
Okay.
I never even served in the same space with him. But from what I've heard from multiple sources,
that's the chief of army staff.
Yeah, the chief. They say he's a very smart guy, very, very smart, like very, very, very smart. So I am trusting him to do what he needs to do. And again, we are blessed with very intelligent officers. Yeah, just like we have very poor ones, we have exceptional officers. So I think that brilliant guys are not afraid to have brilliant people sitting on the table.
Okay.
So I believe the chief of army staff is sitting on the table with brilliant guys. They will come up with things. But you see, a lot of so when you declare a state of emergency, it means that even their budgets will be passed on like in supersonic speed. Yeah. So that things can get done. So right now, I am not seeing that movement, that traction that shows that we are in a state of emergency as a nation.
Okay.
And most importantly, there is a word like that. The citizens do not know we have a state of emergency.
We can't feel it.
We can't feel the pulse.
And it affects how we rally.
It will reconfigure us. It will reconfigure our mentality. It will make Nigerians support their troops better than they are doing. It will make them to be celebrated at every turn. And then the resource will be speaking. You see, if you put in resources, and you have the presence of mind, and you say politics should wait, let's get this job done
first,
then Nigerians will feel, look,
you'll get the message.
Look, this war, the president must lead up front. He must have the presence of mind to engage.
And he has to have the presence on the ground too.
Yeah, and then the presence on the ground. The president should be like ubiquitous. We should be seeing him. We should be hearing him. We should be seeing him. And I'm saying this as one that loves a nation that has been good to him. The nation has been good to me. I've been trained. I've been trained by Nigeria. So I'm patriotic. And I explain to people that patriotism does not come from out of vacuum. It's through subtle socialization. Right. People are socialized into loving their nation. And I was. And there are a couple of us like that. So I'm not seeing the bottom line is that we're not seeing the effect of the state of emergency.
Okay.
And if you ask the armed forces, perhaps they're not seeing it too.
Okay. So very important points. Because of our time, I want us to wrap up around this question. And I know that, you're a military man, but based on the kind of training that you guys get, I'm going to ask you this question, which is outside of the military range.
I hope an ambush is not being
No. I mean,
okay.
So I had a guest last week, a professor, somebody who has worked in Wall Street and then in Nigeria, Wall Street in New York, and then the Nigerian system, economist. He's now a professor in the US. He wrote a thesis in 2008. And some of the things that is happening now, that the Americans are doing now, in terms of taking hold of Venezuelan oil, the implication for the dollar, how the dollar is being contested by other countries, and how that will be a big deal. He wrote about it. So he was explaining that the move of the Americans, by going after Maduro, and then the move of the Americans attacking southwest Nigeria, that they are connected. That the Americans are trying to say that, look, we're going to defend the dollar with our military might. And he argued that one of the reasons why Nigeria is important to them is because Nigeria is also beginning to move towards the Chinese, and this move of the yuan replacing the dollar. You know that the dollar is getting wicked. Now, how does a general in the Nigerian military interpret that kind of scenario? Because it goes to what we are saying about the interest behind, what is going on. So I'm going to ask you that because I know you guys are very well read. It's not necessarily a beauty question, but I would like to have your take as we close.
So this is interesting. Nations are pursuing their interests and the space is narrowing. The world is not expanding. Resources are not expanding. There is a quest for dominance. Who actually wins the 21st century? Technologically, China is behind America, but China is building in such a way that it has become a threat.
Yeah.
America needs resources. America needs oil. beyond the reserves they have. And that's what Trump virtually is celebrating. I think yesterday the first tranche of the oil got in, was sold, and $500 million was made. So there is a contest for global dominance. And so a bloc is moving towards China. America has a bloc. And America is reading the stars and sees the threat of China. There's a need to counter it. I've told you that ordinarily Donald Trump won't be interested in Nigeria. Ordinarily, at all. At all. Because he campaigned on America first. We don't care what happens somewhere. It's America first. Yeah, but again, so the dollar must be defended. America's debt is too high.
And a lot of the resources, in terms of even the debt resources, is in China.
So and then China, bought a lot. A lot of the treasury bills. And so
Chinese treasury bills which are cheaper, are becoming more attractive than American treasury bills.
So that appears to be explain why America first is no longer too dominant. That explains why Trump is interested in other spheres, Greenland. Colombia, all that. So you must defend the dollar. You must defend the American economy, because without that strong economy, your military power just starts diminishing. You need to replace planes. You need to replace submarines, ships.
Right.
You need to build a strong army, maintain it, maintain the Air Force, maintain the Navy, maintain the U.S. Marines, maintain the Guard, the National Guard, and all that. So that war machine is $1 trillion enterprise yearly. So you need resources to maintain that. Without military power, America becomes useless. And to maintain that power, you need resources.
So how should a Nigerian general read this thing?
Okay, so where do you situate Nigeria? Where do you situate Nigeria? And that perhaps explains why Nigeria plays one leg here, one leg there. So that you are not throwing all your eggs in one basket. I will maintain that we should have a very solid relationship with America. America offers to help us militarily. China has not offered that openly. So we maintain that relationship with America.
We can get the benefit that we need.
Military support. And we trade with China, because we need it's trade. We need to get in foreign exchange. So wherever we can have trade with China, we have it. With Europe, we have it. So basically, play your game, but be smart about it, and don't throw all your cards on the table. Hide some cards, but be a strategic player on the world stage and put your house in order so that you can speak with power and authority. If you are too weakened, you can't play on the international scene. And we're looking weak right now. We need to change the narrative, and pretty quickly.
Okay.
We're looking weak. But there are some interpretations. I won't say.
I know. Can you just, in close, in 1 minute, I want you to turn around that statement. So what do we have to do? What is the number one priority to change that, our perception of weakness, in your view?
We must start winning. When a national team keeps losing matches, it is losing. But once it starts winning, it becomes clear that it's winning. And winning must not be once. A series of winnings that make you to be associated with winning. Okay, so we must start winning. Okay. In other words, I expect the armed forces of Nigeria to be doing briefings. Now it has to be daily briefings. We're in war.
Public briefings.
Public briefings.
Of what they are doing.
Of what they are doing.
That this is what
so like it will fit Nigerians
these guys.
And you will see the evidence.
These guys.
And you will see the evidence. Without giving away your secrets and your future plans, the Americans do it. Every day you must have the press coming in. They are briefed on the war effort. And then the presidency must be engaged, and we must be saying what they need, do we need to give to them, and all that. And then procurement must be open. We should not operate in silos. Transparency. You see, because war can become submerged in corruption, and then people like the war to go on forever. So once your procurement processes are transparent, resources are transparently used,
everybody can see.
Everybody can see. Then even Nigerian citizens will have confidence that we're giving them this number of billions, and this is what they have done with it. So even when you acquire things, you issue press statements, people are not doing, no longer acquiring weapons and hiding.
True.
Of course, it's not hidden. Once something is shipped to you, that is of the war effort, everybody knows.
It.
So that Nigerians can have confidence. So it's winning. It's winning. It's opening roads. It's clearing forests that need to be cleared. It's tackling ungoverned spaces. It is entrenching good governance. It's making Nigerians feel the pulse of governance. It's good governance. It's opening roads. It's making sure that people can travel by road, that they can sleep at night. It's killing the killers so that Nigerians, the people that hate us are being killed. It's using bullets to take out people. Every engagement must come out with Nigerians seeing that their armed forces have won that skirmish, that skirmishes. Every time we engage with either ISWAP, Boko Haram, we should have bodies. We're not talking about body counts in themselves alone, but they have a psychological effect. They can show Nigerians something is happening. We need to change the narrative. We must start winning. And when you start winning, people love winners. Nigerians will love us. The outside world will say this nation is becoming serious. What they're doing. And so you can attract the kind of strategic help that you need to keep the war going and then end it. Excellent. Because if this thing continues like this for another 10 years, Nigeria, the very existence of Nigeria may be threatened.
Okay, we believe and trust that we will get the victory. I like the way you concluded that we must start winning. Thank you so much, General Pat Akem Vinji, PhD.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for the insights that you offer, and thank you for your service, your continuous service to the nation, even after you have
retired. Thank God for the privilege.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources once again.
Thank you, sir.